There is a phrase in dressage that every rider, every judge, and every trainer understands on a deeply instinctive level: the collected walk. It is controlled, deliberate, measured, and precise. It is not rushed, and it is not dramatic. It is careful, it is thoughtful, it is slow. And now, according to one of the most respected figures in the sport, that same pace is beginning to define something far more concerning than a movement in a test. It is defining the speed of change in modern dressage itself, because Olympic champion Carl Hester has stepped forward with a message that is as simple as it is powerful. In his view, the FEI, the governing body of international equestrian sport, is moving at a collected walk when that sport truly needs is an extended canter. His words are not dramatic for the sake of attention. They are measured just like the movement he references, but behind them lies a clear and unmistakable warning. The sport cannot afford to move this slowly anymore. To understand why this matters, you have to understand who Carl Hester is. He is not an outsider throwing criticism from a distance. He is not disconnected from the realities of elite competition. He is one of the architects of modern British dressage, an Olympic gold medalist, and a trainer whose influence has shaped some of the most successful partnerships in the world. When someone like Hester speaks, it is not noise, it is signal. And right now, that signal is pointing towards something that has been building quietly for years: frustration. At the center of his criticism is an idea that is, on the surface, remarkably simple. It is the concept of give and take of the reins, a moment in a test where the rider softens the contact and allows the horse to demonstrate true self-carriage. It is not a new idea, and it is certainly not a radical one. In fact, it has long been part of classical training systems, used by riders to confirm that the horse is working in balance rather than being held tightly together. But despite its simplicity and its importance, the implementation of this concept at the highest level of competition has been slow, painfully slow. Discussions have taken place, proposals have been considered, and yet, even after many months, meaningful action still feels just out of reach. This is where Hester's frustration becomes more than understandable. It becomes difficult to ignore, because the give and retake is not just a technical detail. It is a window into the truth of the horse's way of going. When the reins are softened, the illusion disappears. What remains is the reality of the training. Is the horse balanced, relaxed, and truly connected? Or is it dependent on the rider's hand to maintain the appearance of harmony? That distinction matters, and it matters more now than ever before. Modern dressage is under increasing scrutiny from both inside and outside the sport. Questions about welfare, about training methods, and about judging standards are no longer confined to quiet conversations behind the scenes. They are public, visible, and growing louder with each passing year. In that context, delays in implementing even widely supported welfare-related messages begin to feel less like caution and more like hesitation. And Hester's concern does not stop with the pace of reform. It extends into the very structure of how dressage is judged. Several years ago, a significant change was made to the scoring system. Collective marks, which had been traditionally evaluated the horse's paces, impulsion, and submission, were removed and replaced with a more generalized focus that placed greater emphasis on the rider. At the time, the decision was controversial, and many within the sport questioned whether it risked shifting the focus away from the horse itself. Now, those concerns are resurfacing with renewed urgency. Because when the evaluation of the horse becomes less detailed, less explicit, and less central to the final score, it raises an uncomfortable question. What exactly is being rewarded? If a rider presents a polished, elegant picture, but the horse is tense, restricted, or resistant, does the scoring system carefully capture that reality? Or does it allow those issues to be softened, hidden, or overlooked? For Hester, the answer is clear. That imbalance does not reflect the true principles of dressage, which have always been rooted in harmony, in lightness, and the willing partnership between horse and rider. Without a strong emphasis on the horse's way of going, the sport risks drifting away from its foundation. And this is where the conversation becomes bigger than any single rule or reform. It becomes a question about identity. What is dressage supposed to be? Is it a performance judged primarily on aesthetics and presentation? Or is it a discipline grounded in the invisible qualities of balance, relaxation, and trust? The answer for many feels obvious, but the execution of that answer through rules, judging, and governance is where the tension lies. At the same time, the broader welfare conversation continues to grow. Across the equestrian world, there is increasing awareness of how training methods, management practices, and competition pressures affect the horse. Social media has amplified these discussions, bringing moments that were once private into the public eye. The expectations placed on the sport are changing, and with them, the margin for inaction is shrinking. Within that environment, even small delays can carry significant weight. Hester's comments tap directly into that pressure. They reflect not only his personal perspective, but also a wider sense that the sport is at a crossroads. The path forward is not unclear, but it requires decisiveness. It requires leadership. And perhaps most importantly, it requires speed. Because while governing bodies debate and refine and analyze, the reality on the ground continues. Horses are trained, competed, and judged every single day. The standards that exist now are not theoretical. They are active. They shape outcomes, influence behavior, and define what is rewarded. And that means that every delay has consequences. Interestingly, amid all of this complexity, Hester also points to something refreshingly simple. He speaks about turnout, about giving horses time outside, about the visible transformation that occurs when they are allowed to move freely and exist naturally. It is a reminder that beneath all the structure and sophistication of dressage, the fundamentals remain unchanged. Horses thrive when they are comfortable, relaxed, and allowed to express natural behavior. It is an idea that requires no reform, no debate, and no delay. It simply requires recognition. And perhaps that is part of what makes this moment so significant, because it highlights the contrast between what is simple and what has become complicated, between what is known and what is still being discussed. The FEI continues to work toward reform, and there is no question that change is happening. But the pace of that change is now under scrutiny in a way that feels different from before. It is no longer just about whether improvements will be made. It is about whether they will be made quickly enough. And that brings us back to the metaphor that started it all. The collected walk is a beautiful movement when used in the right context. It demonstrates control, balance, and precision. But when applied to the urgency of welfare and the evolution of a global sport, it may no longer be enough. Because dressage is not standing still, the world around it is moving forward, and the expectations placed upon it are accelerating. The question now is whether the sport will rise to meet that pace, or whether it will continue step by careful step at a collected walk. So what do you think? Is the FEI moving too slowly on critical welfare reforms in dressage? Should measures like the give and retake be implemented immediately at the highest levels of competitions? And do you believe that judging systems need to return to a stronger focus on the horse itself? Let us know your thoughts.